You wake up every morning with the same determination to change your life. You visualize your desires, you write them down in your journal, you recite affirmations, and you try to meditate with focus, hoping that the universe is listening. You repeat these rituals faithfully because you believe they are the keys to unlocking a new reality. You raise your vibration, speak positively, and remind yourself that you trust the universe's timing. And yet, when you look around, everything feels frustratingly familiar. New months bring the same emotions. New goals lead to the same outcomes, and your relationships feel like replicas of the very dynamics you wanted to escape. Your finances reset themselves no matter how hard you push, and your inner world swings, like a pendulum between moments of hope and the quiet despair of disappointment. You start asking yourself why life feels like a loop you cannot break, why every effort to move forward pulls you back into the same scenery dressed in different clothes. That question begins to echo louder than any affirmation you can repeat. What am I doing wrong? The truth is not what you think. It isn't that you lack effort or worth or intelligence or even spiritual discipline. The root of the repetition is not in how much you want it or how hard you work to manifest it. The core issue lies in your frequency. The universe, the quantum field, does not respond to effort in the way you've been taught to believe. It doesn't reward the number of hours you meditate, the intensity of your affirmations, or the vision board stacked against your bedroom wall. It listens only to the signal you consistently broadcast beneath the surface of your conscious actions. That silent, unconscious vibration is the language of the quantum field, and it speaks louder than anything you perform on the outside. It's not what you say when you're in meditation, it's who you are when nobody's looking. It's what your body and nervous system are humming when you're not trying to manifest, when you're not in ritual mode, when you're simply living life and reacting in real time. That's the baseline the field mirrors back to you, faithfully and neutrally again and again. You are not stuck because you don't know how to manifest. You are stuck because you are still vibrating as the version of yourself you claim you have outgrown. And until that old frequency dissolves, the field will reflect it back not out of punishment, but out of coherence. The universe is not judging your worthiness. It is simply showing you what you are stabilizing in. Think of it like a mirror. A mirror doesn't lie, doesn't criticize, doesn't praise. It simply reflects the image placed before it. Your reality works the same way. That is why you can consume books, courses, and guided meditations and still feel eerily trapped in the same cycles. It's not personal, it's physics. And there's a law you were never taught in school, the law of vibrational repetition. Whatever your subconscious mind believes is safe, it repeats. Not because it is good for you, but because it is familiar. Safety to the subconscious does not mean fulfillment, it means predictability. So the field listens to this familiarity as if it were a command, assuming, this is what you expect, this is what you know, this is what feels most stable. Then this is what will continue. This is why vision boards don't always work. Why affirmations sometimes ring hollow. Why you can say abundance 100 times a day and still end up broke. Because if your body is still wired for scarcity, the field does not hear abundance. It hears lack, and it reflects it with mathematical precision. This is not cruelty, it's simply accuracy. The universe cannot be tricked by words when the energy beneath them is misaligned. It is listening to what you are broadcasting in the background. When your conscious mind is turned off, when you're alone late at night battling self-doubt, when you're handling stress at work, when disappointment makes you feel unworthy, when you're processing heartbreak or rejection. Those moments are the true prayers, the energetic commands that shape what the quantum field collapses into your experience. The tone of your inner world, the baseline of how you feel about yourself when no one else is watching, determines the outer world that keeps repeating itself. So the reason people get stuck is simple. They change the outer behavior, but they don't transform the inner baseline. They add new rituals on top of old wiring. They read books on abundance but stay anchored in scarcity. They chase new relationships but carry the same wounds that sabotage intimacy. They try to expand into their future self while gripping tightly onto the emotional signatures of their past. And the quantum field, indifferent and neutral, keeps reflecting back the same signal. This is why your reality feels like a loop, because even as the rituals evolve, the frequency beneath them doesn't shift. And until that frequency changes, the movie of your life keeps replaying the same storyline, no matter how many new actors you cast or how many times you rewrite the script in your journal. But this is not evidence that you are broken, unworthy, or incapable. It is simply proof that reality is an unfailing vibrational mirror. The good news is, mirrors can be changed by what stands before them. You don't have to keep chasing a new life through more tools and more effort. The shift happens not by adding layers, but by dissolving the frequency that keeps looping like invisible code in the background of your existence, because you cannot out-affirm your energetic baseline. You cannot chant your way into abundance while your body hums with the vibration of fear. You cannot speak love into existence while your nervous system clings to the memory of betrayal. You cannot expand into your future self while holding on to the stories and identities that defined your past. The field will not contradict your true signal. It doesn't listen to hope, it listens to coherence. So if you want to stop repeating the same reality, you must stop repeating the same frequency. And that requires exquisite awareness. You have to catch yourself in the loop emotionally, mentally, and vibrationally. You have to stop decorating the old reality with shinier words and prettier tools, and instead dismantle the foundation that holds it together. Because once you see the loop clearly, once you name it, feel it, and observe it without collapsing into it, you create space for choice, and in that choice lies the essence of quantum shifting. The shift doesn't happen by forcing a new reality into being. It happens by becoming a new frequency, so that the reality aligned with it has no choice but to collapse into form. That's the power waiting for you, not in more effort, but in deeper coherence. Beneath the surface of your conscious efforts lies the machinery of your subconscious mind, and this is where the loop of repetition is truly maintained. Your subconscious is not designed to make you happy. It is designed to keep you safe. But safe in its language doesn't mean expanded, abundant, or fulfilled. Safe means familiar. Your subconscious carries the sum of every belief, every trauma, every emotional pattern you've lived through, reinforcing them so deeply that they become automatic. These patterns are etched into neural pathways, grooves of thought and behavior, that play out unconsciously in the background. Over time, your nervous system memorizes these grooves as default settings: how you respond to stress, how you relate to money, how you experience love, how you interpret rejection, how you deal with opportunities. And the energy you emit through these habitual patterns becomes a vibrational blueprint. That blueprint doesn't care about your conscious intentions. It simply broadcasts the energy of what you know, what you expect, and what feels normal. The quantum field, indifferent and neutral, listens to that blueprint above all else, echoing it back into your reality with unwavering consistency. This is why you can dream of abundance, but still experience scarcity, why you can crave love but attract relationships that wound you in the same old ways, why you can want success yet constantly sabotage yourself before it arrives, because when your subconscious is wired to scarcity, fear, or unworthiness, your body emits the vibration of those states more strongly than your conscious thoughts of abundance or love. Neuroscience even confirms this. Studies reveal that 95% of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are unconscious habitual patterns. That means only 5% of your energy is participating in the creation of something new, while the other 95% is reinforcing what already exists. No matter how much you meditate, visualize, or declare affirmations, if the majority of your being is vibrating at an old frequency, the field will mirror that with precision. This is why real change feels so difficult. It's not because you're incapable. It's because you're often trying to write a new story on the same old script, running automatically in the background. And that script has more power than a fleeting moment of conscious effort. Think about the last time you tried to change something significant in your life: a career leap, a new relationship, a healthier body, or even a mindset shift. In the beginning, you were excited, motivated, and ready. You may have felt unstoppable for a few days or even weeks. But then, almost like clockwork, resistance crept in. Doubts resurfaced, old fears whispered in your mind. You procrastinated, you delayed, or you sabotaged your own progress. This wasn't weakness, laziness, or lack of willpower. It was your subconscious mind doing exactly what it has been trained to do, protect you by pulling you back into what is familiar. Even if familiar is painful, it still feels safe to the subconscious because it is predictable. The unknown feels threatening, even if it's the very reality you've been praying for, and your body joins in this resistance. As Dr. Joe Dispenza often reminds us, the body is the subconscious mind. Your body remembers stress, fear, disappointment, and doubt as if they were home. Every attempt to step into a new identity creates dissonance, and your body pushes back with restlessness, fatigue, anxiety, or self-sabotaging impulses. It's not trying to punish you, it's trying to keep you in the safety zone of the old frequency. This cycle is what I call quantum repetition. Subconscious programming creates a vibrational signal. The quantum field reflects that signal as reality. That reality reinforces the subconscious pattern, making it even stronger. And then, the loop continues. Most people live their entire lives in this closed feedback loop, mistaking repetition for fate, believing they are powerless to escape. But the truth is, once you become aware of the loop, you are no longer bound by it. Awareness breaks the automatic spell. Awareness allows you to pause, to step back, to observe the pattern without immediately reacting from it. That moment of recognition is a crack in the cycle, a chance to choose a different frequency. But let's be clear, you cannot brute force your way out of years or decades of subconscious programming with a few moments of visualization or a list of affirmations taped to your wall. Surface-level practices alone cannot override deep-seated frequencies. They can inspire, they can open doors, but true quantum shifting requires coherence. Coherence is when your conscious desires, subconscious beliefs, and embodied emotional states align. It is when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are not at war with each other, but are broadcasting the same frequency in harmony. And only then does the field begin to reflect back something new with ease. Imagine it like tuning a radio. If you want to listen to a new station, you don't just say you want it. You have to turn the dial until your device matches the frequency of that station. As long as you're slightly off, all you get is static. That static is what most people live in, visualizing abundance but vibrating scarcity, hoping for love but embodying fear, asking for success but carrying the frequency of failure. Until you become coherent, the field only hears the static and mirrors it faithfully. But when you align, when you bring your body, mind, and emotions into resonance with your desired reality, the static clears. Suddenly the signal is strong, clear, and stable. And the field has no choice but to collapse the potential that matches it. This is why you may feel resistance at the very edge of transformation. Right before a breakthrough, the old patterns flare up with greater intensity. You feel pulled back into old habits, emotional triggers resurface, doubts feel louder than ever. This isn't a sign that you're failing, it's a sign that the old frequency knows it's about to lose its hold. The subconscious doesn't let go quietly. It tests you, tempts you, and tries to pull you back into the safety of what you know. Many people give up at this stage, misinterpreting resistance as failure, when in fact it is evidence that the old cycle is destabilizing. This is the threshold moment, the doorway to a quantum shift. It's uncomfortable, but it is also sacred. Because in that moment, if you choose to hold your awareness steady, to breathe, to feel the discomfort without collapsing into it, you step into a new frequency. And when you shift your frequency, the field reorganizes itself around you. So the next time you feel stuck, instead of panicking or blaming yourself, see it as feedback. Your life is not a punishment, it's a mirror. The repetition is not your destiny, it's your subconscious programming. And once you understand that, you can begin to work at the right level. Not just with thoughts, not just with effort, but with coherence. Because when you are coherent, the loop cannot hold. The field no longer has a matching signal to repeat. And that is the moment the shift begins. There comes a moment in every person's journey when the loop reveals itself more clearly than ever before. You start to notice that just when you are closest to making progress, the very patterns you thought you had left behind suddenly reappear. It can feel as if the universe is mocking you, as if life is conspiring to pull you back into the old reality you desperately want to escape. But what's really happening is not sabotage, it is transition. Before every breakthrough, there is resistance. Before every quantum shift, there is a test. This test does not come in the form of external punishment, but in the form of internal echoes, the familiar emotions and behaviors that flare up one last time as the old frequency fights to hold its ground. If you can recognize these moments for what they are, not signs of failure but signs of change, you can use them as portals into transformation. Because the loop does not break when everything feels smooth and easy. It breaks in the moments when you are stretched between two realities, when you feel torn between who you've always been and who you are becoming. This is the space where most people retreat. They feel the emotional discomfort, the fear, the doubts, and assume it means they are on the wrong path. They retreat into old habits, into familiar cycles, into the comfort of predictability, even if that predictability is painful. But if you look deeper, you'll see that this very discomfort is proof that you are destabilizing the old self. Imagine your frequency as a home you've lived in for years. The walls are cracked, the furniture is outdated, but it's still familiar. Now imagine moving into a brand new house, one you've dreamed of but never lived in. At first it feels unfamiliar, maybe even uncomfortable. You don't know where everything belongs yet. Your body misses the predictability of the old home, even though you long to leave it. That is what happens energetically during a quantum shift. You're standing between the house you've outgrown and the house you're learning to inhabit. This in-between space can feel like chaos, but it is actually creation. One of the clearest signs you're on the edge of a shift is the resurgence of your oldest patterns. You may find yourself thinking thoughts you haven't entertained in years, experiencing emotional triggers you thought you had healed, or being confronted with circumstances that mirror your past. It can feel frustrating, even discouraging, but this resurgence is not regression, it is release. The subconscious doesn't let go quietly. When a pattern is about to dissolve, it often flares up as if to test your commitment to the new frequency. This is the moment to pause, to breathe, and to recognize that you are not failing. On the contrary, you are closer than ever to the transformation you've been working toward. The old frequency is surfacing so you can see it, feel it, and choose differently. And every time you choose differently, even if only in small ways, you are rewiring the loop. You are teaching your subconscious and your nervous system that a new reality is safe to inhabit. Another powerful sign of being on the threshold of a quantum shift is the emotional tug-of-war that arises within you. One part of you is deeply longing for expansion, for the freedom and fulfillment of your desired reality. The other part of you clings tightly to the known, to the safety of what has defined your life until now. This inner battle can feel exhausting, as if you're being pulled in two directions at once. But this tension is not a mistake. It is a marker of transformation. You are not broken because you feel conflicted. You are in transition. And that conflict is simply the friction of two frequencies overlapping, the old one trying to hold on and the new one trying to stabilize. If you can lean into the discomfort instead of running from it, you will find that the new frequency slowly gains strength, becoming more familiar until it feels like home. Your body, too, often signals when you are on the edge of a quantum shift. Fatigue, restlessness, anxiety, or even mild physical symptoms can arise during this transition. Your nervous system is recalibrating itself, adjusting from the old identity to the new one. Think of it like a vibrational detox. Your body has been conditioned to live in the stress, doubt, and limitations of your old self. As you step into a new state of being, your body resists, not to harm you, but because it has grown accustomed to the old frequency. This physical resistance is not a sign of failure, but of change. If you interpret it correctly, you'll realize your system is releasing what no longer serves you. If you misinterpret it, you might retreat and reinforce the old loop. This is why awareness is so crucial. By recognizing discomfort as evidence of transformation, you can endure it with patience and grace instead of collapsing back into old patterns. Alongside resistance, synchronicities often appear as signposts of the new frequency beginning to align. You may notice repeating numbers, symbolic dreams, meaningful coincidences, or opportunities that seem to arrive out of nowhere. These are not random. They are reflections of your energy becoming more coherent with the reality you are calling in. But synchronicities alone are not the shift. They are invitations. They remind you that the field is listening, that your vibration is changing, that new realities are becoming available. But whether you step into them depends on your response. Will you trust the unfolding even when it feels unfamiliar? Or will you retreat to the safety of your old patterns? The choice in these moments determines whether you loop back into the old self or stabilize into the new one. The paradox is that the edge of transformation often feels like stagnation. Just before the shift, it can feel as though nothing is moving, as if all your efforts are in vain. But in reality, this stillness is the space where the old identity dissolves, and the new one is not yet fully anchored. It feels uncomfortable precisely because your system is recalibrating. The old stories are loosening, the old patterns are losing power, but the new reality hasn't yet appeared in visible form. It is in this liminal space, the in-between, that the greatest shifts occur. The question is not whether you can visualize your future, but whether you can hold your frequency steady when there is no evidence yet that anything has changed. Can you stay calm in the void? Can you trust the process when the old world is still echoing around you? If you can, you'll find that the field begins to reorganize itself naturally, without force, without struggle, without the frantic need to push. This is the essence of a quantum shift. It does not announce itself with fireworks or dramatic external proof. It arrives quietly, subtly, as you hold your new frequency long enough for it to stabilize. The old reality fades, not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it. You stopped reacting to it with fear, urgency, and identification, and once the old reality has no energetic support, it dissolves. That's when the field fills the vacuum with the reality that matches your new coherence. So the next time you feel resistance, confusion, or emotional stretching, don't see it as a sign to quit. See it as proof that you're standing on the edge of transformation. Because the moment you hold your frequency in the midst of discomfort, you've already shifted more than you realize. The new reality is not ahead of you. It is forming right now, aligning itself with the signal you've chosen to embody. So how do you actually shift? Not someday, not in theory, but right now, in this very moment where the old self is fading and the new one is calling you forward. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that change requires force, that we must push harder, work longer, or fix ourselves through endless effort. But in the quantum model of creation, transformation doesn't happen by force, it happens by frequency. You don't create a new reality by chasing it down with desperation. You align with it by becoming a match for it. And the first step to this alignment is not in the mind, but in the body. Because your body is the broadcasting tower of your vibration. It is the instrument through which your subconscious sends out signals 24 hours a day, long after your conscious affirmations have ended. If your nervous system is dysregulated, if your body is still conditioned to feel stress, fear, scarcity, or urgency, then no matter what your mind tries to affirm, your body will override it. This is why so many people feel stuck, knowing the right things intellectually, saying the right words, even visualizing the right images, but still finding themselves in the same repeating loops. The frequency is not determined by what you want, it is determined by what your body feels is safe. The work then begins with teaching your body that new emotions are safe. If your nervous system has spent years normalizing anxiety, contraction, scarcity, or self-doubt, you cannot simply think your way into joy, abundance, or love. You must gently recondition your body to stabilize in these new emotional states. Close your eyes and imagine the version of yourself who already lives the reality you desire. Don't just see what they have, feel how they feel. What is the emotional tone of that version of you? Maybe it is peace, confidence, gratitude, joy, or radiance. Now bring that emotional tone into your body, even if only for a few seconds, not as a performance, not as a trick, but as a rehearsal of a new way of being. Those few seconds of coherence, when your body, mind, and heart align in the feeling of your future self, are more powerful than hours of mental struggle, because you're no longer thinking about the frequency, you're embodying it. Another vital practice is learning to observe without collapse. Most people, when an old fear or doubt surfaces, immediately panic, resist, or repress it. They assume the resurfacing of old emotions means they are failing, so they spiral back into the loop. But the truth is, an old pattern surfacing is an invitation, not a setback. When you notice a reactive thought, when fear whispers in your mind, when doubt creeps into your heart, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this coming from the version of me I am leaving behind, or the version of me I am stepping into? That moment of awareness is everything, because when you can witness the pattern without identifying with it, you create space for a new frequency to emerge. You stop collapsing into the old self and begin anchoring the new one. Observation without collapse is the bridge from repetition to transformation. Equally important is disengaging from urgency. The quantum field does not operate on the timelines of your mind. It is timeless. When you feel desperate, frantic, or rushed to manifest something, you are signaling lack. You are broadcasting to the field that what you desire is not here yet, which only reinforces the loop of scarcity. Even if your mind is visualizing abundance, if your body is radiating urgency, the field hears lack. That is why slowing down, softening, and releasing the need for proof is so powerful. You do not need to chase what is already yours in the field. You need to tune into it. Every time you let go of urgency and sink into presence, you align more deeply with the frequency of your future self. One of the most overlooked practices in shifting is learning to stop asking for proof too soon. When you constantly check for signs, when you demand evidence that the shift is working, you are broadcasting doubt. You are telling the field you don't truly believe in the new reality until it shows up physically. But in the quantum process, the field responds to coherence first and evidence second. Proof comes after alignment, not before it. So when it looks like nothing is happening, smile. Let that absence of evidence remind you that you are anchoring something deeper. Trust that the invisible shift is already underway. Because reality shifts not when you try harder, but when your frequency no longer supports the old. When you stop feeding the loop with your fear, urgency, and doubt, the old infrastructure dissolves. The beliefs, emotions, and self-concepts that once held it together no longer have power, and the field naturally reorganizes around your new coherence. It is also essential to understand that the process is not linear. It will not always feel like progress. Sometimes it will feel like contraction, stillness, or even regression. But even these moments are part of the shift. They are opportunities to practice staying coherent when nothing outside of you validates your new reality yet. Think of it as building muscle. Every time you choose presence over programming, alignment over urgency, coherence over chaos, you strengthen your new frequency. And eventually it becomes your baseline. Your body accepts it as safe, your subconscious accepts it as familiar. And once that happens, the quantum field mirrors it back as your new reality. The beauty of this process is that you are not becoming someone new. You are not building a new self from scratch. You are remembering who you already are beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and repetition. The quantum shift is not about adding more on top, but about removing interference, dissolving the noise that blocks your signal. When you remove what is false, what remains is the pure frequency of your true self. And that frequency is magnetic. It naturally calls in the experiences, relationships, and opportunities that match it, without force, without struggle. This is the essence of effortless creation. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because your energy is coherent. You are no longer broadcasting static. You are sending a clear, consistent signal to the field. And the field, always faithful, reflects it back. So the next time you find yourself caught in urgency, in doubt, or in the resurfacing of old fears, remember this: you don't have to fight harder. You don't have to perfect your rituals. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Your work is to return again and again to the signal of your future self, to rehearse the emotions of that self until your body recognizes them as home, to observe old patterns without collapsing into them, to soften urgency into trust, to let go of the need for proof and anchor instead into coherence. Each small return is a shift. Each breath taken in awareness is a shift. And over time, those Micro-shifts accumulate until the new reality is not something you're chasing. It's something you're living. That is the power of frequency. That is the path of quantum shifting. Now you stand at the threshold of everything you have been working toward, but this threshold is not somewhere in the distant future. It is here, in this moment. You have already seen how the loop sustains itself, through subconscious programming, through emotional patterns that feel safe even when they limit you, through a body that resists change because it craves familiarity. You have seen how the quantum field is not punishing you, but faithfully mirroring your consistent frequency. With perfect accuracy, you now know that what repeats is not your destiny, not your fate, not your lack of worth, but simply the vibrational signature you've been broadcasting unconsciously. And the most important realization of all is this: the shift does not come from forcing a new reality to appear. It comes from embodying a new frequency so completely that the field has no choice but to reflect it back as your lived experience. The shift is not something outside of you. It is who you decide to be. It is important to understand that a quantum shift is not a single dramatic moment that changes everything in a flash, although it can feel like that sometimes. More often it is subtle, quiet, almost invisible. It is built through micro-decisions, tiny moments where you choose differently than you did before, where you refuse to collapse into the old self, where you breathe instead of panic, where you soften instead of tense, where you trust instead of doubt. Every one of those small moments is a shift, and together they accumulate into a transformation so powerful that one day you realize the loop has dissolved. You're no longer repeating the same reality because you're no longer reinforcing the same frequency. This is what it means to live as your quantum self, not waiting for the future to arrive, but becoming the signal of that future right now, in this present moment, in the way you think, feel, and move through the world. Your future is not something you chase. It is not something you beg the universe to deliver. Your future already exists in the field as one of infinite possibilities, waiting for you to tune into it. You don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to earn it with suffering. You don't have to force it into being. You have to remember it, align with it, embody it. That version of you who is already abundant, already loved, already fulfilled, already at peace, is not separate from you. It is you, vibrating at a specific frequency. The only question is, which frequency are you stabilizing in each day? Which signal are you feeding with your thoughts, your emotions, your choices, your behaviors? The loop continues only as long as you continue broadcasting the old frequency. The shift begins the moment you anchor into the new one and refuse to collapse back into what no longer fits. This is why the journey of quantum shifting demands consistency, but not perfection. The field does not require you to never make mistakes or never feel doubt again. It only requires that you return again and again to the signal of your future self. Even when you slip, even when you feel the tug of the old patterns, the power lies in coming back. Every time you choose alignment, even after a stumble, you strengthen the new frequency. Every time you decide to respond differently, even in a small way, you tell your body and subconscious that the old reality is no longer home. Over time, those choices accumulate. The nervous system rewires, the subconscious adopts new programs, and the new frequency becomes the familiar one. When it becomes familiar, it becomes safe. And once it is safe, the field mirrors it back as your physical reality. This is also why the absence of immediate results is not failure. In fact, it is part of the process. The field responds first to your vibration, and only later to your physical world. What you feel, believe, and embody on the inside precedes what you see on the outside. The invisible shift always comes before the visible one. So if your reality still looks like the old loop even after you've begun shifting, do not despair. That does not mean nothing is happening. It means the echo of the old frequency is still fading out. It means the new frequency is still stabilizing. The question is, can you hold your frequency steady in that space of no evidence? Can you trust the shift when your external world still looks unchanged? That is the true test of coherence. Because the moment you stop needing proof, the moment you stop looking for signs to reassure you, is the moment you have stabilized into the new reality. And once stabilized, the outer world has no choice but to reorganize itself around you. Ask, Yourself now. Are you willing to keep broadcasting abundance even when your bank account still reflects scarcity? Are you willing to hold the vibration of love even when your relationships still feel uncertain? Are you willing to embody peace even when life still looks chaotic? These are not rhetorical questions. They are the doorway to your new reality. Because the field does not respond to what you hope for, it responds to what you embody. And when you embody your future self with enough consistency, the old loop cannot survive. It has no energetic foundation left. It dissolves naturally, and the new reality emerges, not because you forced it, but because you became it. Remember also that you are not alone in this journey. All around the world, people are waking up to the same realization, that they are not victims of their reality, but creators of it. That the loop is not destiny, but a reflection. That the shift is not reserved for a chosen few, but available to anyone willing to embody coherence. When you choose to step out of repetition and into resonance, you join a growing community of conscious creators rewriting the story of what it means to be human. And every time you shift your frequency, you don't just change your own life, you ripple out into the field, affecting others, raising the collective vibration, making new possibilities available not just for you, but for the entire web of life. So let this be the moment you claim your shift. Not tomorrow, not someday when circumstances are perfect, but now. Breathe it in. Let the old frequency loosen its grip. Let the patterns you've outgrown dissolve in the light of your awareness. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to resist them. You simply need to stop feeding them. Turn instead to the signal of your future self. Feel it. Embody it. Return to it again and again until it becomes your home. Because the loop ends the moment you stop repeating the same vibration, and the shift begins the moment you choose coherence. You are not waiting for the new reality to arrive. You are becoming it. And as you become it, the field reflects it. Back with perfect faithfulness. This is your power, this is your truth. The shift begins now.